The Browns finally get to return home after a despicable road trip. Fantasy football playoffs, waiver wires, lots to sink our teeth into as the holidays are right around the corner on the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara.
Up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. The sickest Cleveland Browns podcast.
Chubb runs, he's to the 10, 15, he's to the 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. There goes Chubb, he's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Chubba Lubba Hub.
It's gonna be sick.
Hey everybody, yes, Browns 0 for 2 on that road trip. Let that one in Los Angeles slip. Poof, gone. Now we're in real trouble, 7-5. We're going to get into that. We're going to shake it off again and hope that a return home gets the defense back on track. A banged up Jacksonville team. Trevor Lawrence went down on Monday Night Football. Get to that in a moment. Make sure you are following us on Twitter, on X, at AndyMC81, at SickPodBrowns, Instagram, and on TikTok, at AndyMCSports. Click the notification bell. Click subscribe. Share the show. And let us know, of course, when you have any fantasy football, Browns betting questions using hashtag Ask Andy. You can jump into the comments. Always try to reply on time. In a few minutes, be getting to a new guest to the show, recommended by friend of show, Grant Gillen from IDP Guys, Steve Tomasin with one of the best Twitter handles I know, at Dynasty Santa. We'll see if he gives any fantasy football presents in a few minutes. But we got to dive into this Brown situation here, okay? I got a lot of guys to go in the doghouse again. Dog bones and doghouse. And it's going to be something where we look at it and we say, okay, what went wrong? And what can we take away from that Browns loss in LA? The good, outside of those last couple minutes, that last drive where Flacco admitted, Joe Flacco, 38-year-old off the couch, Joe Flacco admitted, hey, man, I probably should have run, thrown it away. Outside of that, like, who else was thinking, like, is this the best quarterback play we've seen all year? Like, yeah, it was. Like, Joe Flacco looked the best for the longest period of time of any game this season at quarterback. I'm trying to think, even the Deshaun Watson, the last game, like maybe the last game when he got hurt. After he got hurt, he looked real good. But the Tennessee game that I was at week 3, like, he wasn't very strong at all the first quarter and a half, and then he turned it around. But Flacco, he was just effortlessly looked great. You can't go back to DTR right now, barring injury or a collapse, and we see more bad decisions like we saw in that last run by Flacco. You can't go back to DTR now, who's still in concussion protocol. Stefanski not wanting to name a starter so far. Okay, that's for whatever reason, that's fine. I don't know if you think you're going to trick Doug Peterson of the Jags. You're going to fool him? He's going to be like, oh, man. Okay, fine. Needs to be Joe Flacco. Now, Amari Cooper, concussion. Probably not going to play. Who else wants to see Austin Watkins from the practice squad? If Cooper can't go, bring up this Watkins guy. Why not? Why the hell not? The guy was popping in preseason. You got him on the practice squad. I liked how Flacco was distributing the ball to Elijah Moore. Best game as a Brown. Cedric Tillman was getting touches. So Dogbone goes to Joe Flacco. Doghouse goes to the defense. And I don't want to – Jim Schwartz, believe me, brother, I don't want to put you in the doghouse, but you're in there. 2 road games, 2 stinkers from that D. Now, Myles Garrett left, said his shoulder wasn't bugging him, whatever. Well, you weren't 100%. But the whole point of this defense, this Jim Schwartz defense, the idea was for it to be so you didn't have to fully rely on Myles Garrett, right? Didn't have to fully rely. It wasn't all on Myles. Let's keep him fresh. Well, it wasn't fresh. I got to say, too, Doghouse, Darius Smith, where the hell are you? I'm looking right now, 2.5 sacks this year. Okay? We've been patient. We're going into week 14. 2.5 sacks? We were talking about 10 to 12 for this guy. Double digit. Who's going to get more, him or Myles? 2.5. Where was Dalvin Tomlinson? Where's that internal pressure? I know Stafford gets rid of the ball quick. But come on. Nothing there. And the missing of Denzel Ward, wow. What an exclamation point. That secondary, doghouse. Get comfy. They got blown up. Could someone tell me why Puka Nacua wasn't getting covered? 17? The guy who was running all over the place? McVay wasn't doing anything fancy. He just got the ball in his hands and he outran everybody all the time. That defense, that secondary. And also, if the defense collapses without Denzel Ward, without one cornerback, and he's great, don't get me wrong, Pro Bowl year, but he's fragile. He misses games every year. He's always banged up, it seems. Okay? If the defense collapses from one cornerback, then you got to reassess things big time. And you got to load up on more corners. Because Greg Newsom's not cutting it. MJ Emerson even got burned. The safeties. You got the Halassi kid, who I liked in college coming out. Boy, back to the practice squad, bro. You're not ready. Doghouse. Dustin Hopkins missed the extra point. Doghouse. That was right there for you. Right there. And it slipped away. So now you're 7-5, and it is a log jam. Now you welcome in the fair weather, warm weathered Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, Monday Night Football. The Bengals. If Jake Browning keeps playing like that, you're in trouble. They're 6-6. Bengals without Trevor Lawrence for now. Ankle sprain. We'll see how the week progresses, how that goes. If he's not, there's C.J. Beathard. And you might laugh, C.J. Beathard. Who the hell is that? I like C.J. Beathard coming out as a developmental backup prospect in 2020 when the Niners drafted him. Played in, I think it's 30 games. Has never let a fourth quarter come back. He's not great, but he's mobile. He's quick. He can run. He can move the chains. That sounds like quarterbacks that have burned the Browns defense this year, right? And the guy has some experience. He's not the worst. Not the worst backup QB you could have. So you got to get ready. Trevor Lawrence or not. You're at home, Browns. This has to be the restatement game, okay? Don't put it all on Flacco. This defense, it is suffering. It is twitching. You need Ward back. Miles hopefully is a bit healthier, and they just get amped. Because, boy, man, you don't want to put too much on Flacco. You got to keep – I feel like we say running the ball all the time. Is it going to happen? Is it going to be running the ball? Stefanski, is he? Like, he never run – it's never enough. Should be more. That Jacksonville team, you can beat them. Come on. You can beat the Jags, especially without Trevor Lawrence, but you got to want it. If you lose this game, look, Pittsburgh lost Kenny Pickett. I think they're actually probably better off with Mitchell Trubisky from an athleticism and playmaking standpoint. Guys won some games. This is a slog, man, so we better be ready. Also, hey, look at that shirt I'm wearing. Professional fantasy football player. You can get that in the show team shop, the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara team shop. Link in the description here of the show on the YouTube page. Click subscribe. Also has a fantasy football champion shirt, all Cleveland Browns gear as well. So check that out. A lot of fun there. So Browns on to Jacksonville, back home, back to the 1 o'clock. I hate waiting around for these games. You wait all day and you get crap like that. Those stinkers there. But this defense, guys, let me know what you think of the defense. How concerned are you in this Browns defense? Leave a message in the comment section here. Twitter, AndyMC81 @SickPodBrowns. Let me know. I'm getting concerned. I feel pretty good about Flacco, though, which is strange to say. Okay. Got that out of the way. On to Jacksonville. Coming in. It's supposed to be wet and rainy. Hopefully, I think the worse weather, the better for the Browns. Right? Get them out of their comfort zone. We'll see. More on Sunday show, 10 a.m. Eastern, live. But now, hey, fantasy football. The playoffs are coming. Week 14, waiver wires. More injuries. Derrick Henry down. Is he going to play concussion? I don't know. But we got some gifts for you. And a man who lives the gimmick from IDP guys at Dynasty Santa on Twitter, Steve Tomasin, joins me now. Steve, how are you, buddy?
What is going on? I'm doing very well, man. Happy to be here. Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on, and our buddy Grant Gillen hooking us up. Yeah. Great IDP guys. I love what you guys do. Nice. We need in the fantasy world, we need some presence. We need some magic here because Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots, despite how wretched that offense is, guy can ball. He's out. Maybe Derrick Henry. Like, what's the most concern going into this week? Is it running back?
I mean, at this point, if you're, headed towards the playoffs, I'm not sure that you were counting on either Ramondre Stevenson or Derrick Henry outside the past couple of games, maybe. So hopefully you're not reliant on those guys. But yeah, it's always running back, right? Honestly, quarterback at this point. They're dropping like flies. They have been all season. So yeah, quarterback and running back to me are probably the biggest scare points here in a pivotal week.
Well, you know what? Let's look at some of the quarterback options. And look, I picked up, he's gone now likely, but about 3 weeks ago, I picked up Jordan Love. He was owned in like 45%. The guy's balling now.
Yeah.
Is there, I'm looking here. There's Baker, congrats to Baker, by the way, him and Emily Mayfield, going to welcome in a baby Baker. Congrats. There's Baker, there's Geno, there's Matt Stafford, there's Gardner Minshew.
So I was looking at the matchups. I might have gone a little deeper here, but
okay.
So starting from I really love to use like points given up to the position, especially if you're in this spot where you either need to stream or are desperate to pick someone off waivers. And I actually tagged Flacco, hopefully is going to remain. I heard you talking about him and how he's been giving you guys the best play all year, which is probably quite accurate.
Yeah. Sad, but true. Yeah.
So, I mean, we saw just Jake Browning tear up Jacksonville last night, right? So whoever's starting for you guys on Sunday could be a nice little deep Hail Mary option. You got Russell Wilson heading against the Chargers. They are giving up in the scoring that I look at the 6th most points to quarterback. So he might be an option for us this week. And then Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders going against Minnesota, giving up the 9th most fantasy points to quarterback. So those are some deeper options. You nailed some of the guys that are kind of in those middle tiers. See, I'm in some of these deep like dynasty leagues and things like that. My brain just goes to like who are like the deep guys. Yeah, I would prefer. You mentioned Geno. I haven't been the biggest Geno guy. It was nice to see him kind of resurge last year, but. Last week was probably the best game we're going to see out of him. I think he comes back down to normal Geno status. So I would definitely prefer like Stafford, you mentioned, over
against San Francisco too, Steve. Like, I don't want much of that.
No thanks. So those are all some good options there.
and Stafford's always tricky because if you're going to stream and you're going to go a bit deeper, it's always better, if possible, to get someone who can use their legs. We know for Stafford, if he's not giving you 250 to 300 yards, no interceptions, 3 touchdowns. He's not giving you anything with his legs. And to his credit, last 2 weeks against the Browns and Arizona has looked good. But now you're facing the Ravens in Baltimore. Yeah, that's a fade. That's a fade to me.
That's why I'm like some of these deep guys, although they're kind of gross names, playing the matchups, I might prefer some of the deeper guys this week to some of the bigger names with worse matchups. So
right, and maybe Minshew. Like Cincinnati's defense was pretty ordinary.
Minshew would be totally fine. Yeah, and he just had a really nice week. So yeah, absolutely Minshew for sure.
Minshew's just a wild man, right? He doesn't care. I love it. He doesn't care.
Yeah. With Indy, it's so frustrating because it's either Minshew goes for like 2 touchdowns and might run one in himself, or it's all on the ground and he gives you like nothing through
nothing.
No, he's an ultimate like boom bust guy.
Yeah, and he's a wild man. Now, what about in Pittsburgh? I mentioned Kenny Pickett out with ankle surgery. Now, I personally think this is an upgrade for Pittsburgh, and certainly I believe an upgrade in the fantasy world. Not that I'm eager to play Mitch Trubisky, but look, Steve, like we've seen Trubisky in the past put up some decent fantasy numbers, like time to time.
I mean, maybe with the new Matt Canada less offense, Trubisky's got a shot. But man, we just saw New England shut down Justin Herbert. So Trubisky would be at the very bottom of my rankings this week, despite the opportunity. I am not excited at all because that New England defense is awesome, despite their record and the offense being putrid. I mean, they've given up like 10 points or less in however many past games.
Yeah.
And against an offense like the Chargers. Now they are on the road, so that might help a little bit, but I'm not super excited about Trubisky. I'm definitely what you said. I agree with. He is a major upgrade. I am the one of the biggest anti-Pickett guys out there.
Oh, me too.
So I think he's definitely an upgrade over Pickett for sure. But I mean, in terms of fantasy like rankings and things like that, he's still going to be towards the very bottom.
No. Yeah, and they're like, look how good I'm like, the offense did nothing, and you got like the 400 yards was nothing to do with your garbage baby hand quarterback.
Exactly.
That'd be crazy. Okay, so you know what? You mentioned the New England New England defense. So for DST team wise, is there any specific IDP guys that we're looking at for New England? Is there anybody that you sort of and look, like anything else this time of year, if you're really good, you're gone already.
Right.
But like anybody who, if people are playing IDP or mixing around or fiddling around a little bit that they like?
So what's tough with this matchup is that with Pittsburgh's offense, they're only ranking 28th in the amount of offensive snaps. So this is going to be probably a rough matchup for New England IDPs. You're probably just going to want to stick with your traditional like linebacker. So Jawad Bentley should be a nice option, along with Kyle Duggar. Hopefully, just soaking up tackles that maybe are available. But my problem is I just feel like there's not going to be a lot of ball carriers, making it to that level for a Duggar or a Bentley to come away with tackles. So this is probably going to be a gross game altogether, but probably very similar to New England and the Chargers, where not a lot of offense, not even a lot of IDP opportunity. It's going to be really random who actually gets you some points there. So nobody that really stands out big time for me outside of the normal New England top IDP guys outside of Bentley, Duggar. If you play in corner leagues, Miles Bryant has been really good for the Patriots, but this one's not going to be great for IDP purposes.
No. If DFS New England defense is going to be expensive.
Yeah, now that's good.
You're going to be fine now. Look, can the NFL not flex us? Like this might be like, Steve, it might be the worst game, and like I don't even know, like worse than that Chargers game because it's prime time. The over/under is set at 30.5. I think I'm smashing the under. I think I take it around 20.
That is so good. That's got to be the lowest under of the season, I would imagine. Like
I heard it was at least in the last decade, it's the lowest over/under set.
Oh, that's brutal.
Isn't that terrible?
Yeah, I mean, we could easily have a 6-3 game right here. It's gross. Get that, it's funny. Back in the day, we always used to joke like Jaguars Titans would be the Thursday game. I would beg for that to be the Thursday game instead of
this one. What a gross matchup. Yeah, that's just absolutely rancid. Now the other side of too is a spot where people always struggle. It's the tight end side, and especially last week. Now in the last week of buys, only 2 teams off this week, but last week, like myself, I had shares of Hawkinson in 3 of my 4 leagues. So I was scrambling. I went with an Everett. It's tricky because we know as well, like, okay, there is such a drop off, and it gets so ugly so quick. Is like I look every week, Stephen. I'm just like, I feel like it's the Spider-Man meme where there's like 4 guys pointing. They're the same guy. There's 4 catches for 38 yards, and if they don't get a touchdown, your day sucks. Is that fair?
It's basically touchdown or bust for everyone outside of the top maybe 5 guys, and that might be being generous because even they can bust. I mean, my suggestion for tight ends for people on the waiver wire is to pull up your screen, close your eyes, kind of zip your finger, and just decide and be like, all right, that's good enough, because it's definitely touchdown or bust. I mean, I have a couple names that I researched, again, based on some of the points given up to the position, but honestly, none of them are I'm super confident about by any means. This really sucks too that the Cardinals are off this week with Trey McBride, smashing for most weeks recently, and of course we're going to be without him for some people starting their playoffs, for others needing a win this week to get into their playoffs. It really stinks to be without one of the top guys this week, who can give you good games without scoring a touchdown.
Yes.
So I've only got 3 names for tight ends. Kylan Granson on the Colts, again, going against Cincinnati. Per my scoring, they're giving up the most points to tight ends. He had actually 2 really long catches from Minshew last week. So he's actually my favorite tight end. The problem is there in Indy, they've got a massive rotation of like sometimes 3, sometimes 4 different tight ends who are out on the field, getting targets sometimes.
Plus Pittman.
Yeah. Right. And the tight ends are very low on the target totem pole, even outside of the running backs as well. So like it's definitely boom or bust there for Granson. If Everett's healthy this week, they do have a good matchup against Denver, giving up the second most points to tight end. So maybe you could roll with Everett again. If it's not him, it'll be Darren Parham. But again, that's not feeling great about that. And then Cade Otton from Tampa Bay, who just gave us a 0 burger, does so he hurts you.
You look good.
He's a very good talent. He's someone in dynasty leagues that I love kind of stashing, but I don't love having to start him right now. But he does get Atlanta, who is third most points giving up to the tight end right now. So those are some Hail Mary guys I've got, because if you don't got a stud, you're in bad shape.
It's really bad. Yeah, you're right. Point and click. How about this though? If we talk about making playoffs, and a guy, if you got him, and I drafted him on 2 of my teams. If you got him, this is somebody who was a playoff maker, Sam Laporta. Like, Steve, look, dynasty-wise, we always like the talent. It's like, okay, we'll get a guy, park him. We'll see you in 2 years. That's what we're used to. Yeah. This guy, you pick him up, whether it's your redraft, dynasty, whatever, like, holy cow.
Right out of the gate, he was a monster.
Yeah.
He went through, like all tight ends, especially a rookie tight end. He had a couple lull weeks there. Production's been a little bit lumpy at times, but when he pops, man, it's totally worth eating those lumpy weeks for the spike weeks like this past week that he gives you. So, he's luckily we've got Kelsey maybe on his way out. Andrews doesn't seem to be able to stay healthy. He's no spring chicken. It's nice that we got this kind of new crop with Kincaid and Laporta coming in this year.
Good too.
Yeah. Nowhere near Laporta though, but it's going to be nice for dynasty especially. But you're firing up Laporta all season basically since week 1.
Well, it's funny because there's always those guys like where you drafted them and you get that value, right? Like Laporta is one of them, and Puka Nacua exploded last. Now he had about a month now of down, but he really popped. I don't know if that was just the Browns defense just being absolute garbage, or if that's another trend. But boy, Puka got you some early season wins at least, and probably last week.
Absolutely. He's someone I nabbed him in the draft in my long running home league. So I was very excited about that, and grabbed him off waivers on week 1. A lot of people were like a little skeptical in the beginning. I was like, I definitely liked him coming out, and so everywhere I could grab him after that week 1 where I didn't draft him, I absolutely did. We hope he could give us some, more consistency like this past week. It's just so tough. That offense is all over the place. And who's scoring? Is it rushing versus a passing week? The Browns, I was surprising, dude. Your guys' defense has been killing it for most of the year, and then they just kind of fall apart last week there. It was kind of crazy.
Miles' shoulder is 100%. Denzel Ward out.
Is he coming back anytime? Because they didn't place him on IR, right?
No, we're hoping this week. We're probably not going to hear anything until Wednesday as far as like a practices. But it looks like he was like he looked like he was close last week. Then he wasn't, but he's got to get back in there. The problem is these cornerbacks, Steve, they're so slight, many, right? So you can be great, but you get banged up so much. And if he's back, if Denzel's back and Miles didn't suffer any further injury to the shoulder, I'd be very comfortable playing the Browns defense against maybe CJ Beathard or a near one-legged Trevor Lawrence.
Right. Absolutely. Totally agree. Totally.
Depending on that. Now, for the Browns-Jags game on the fantasy side, the Christian Kirk season has been extremely surprising. And he was one of those guys, Steve, how sometimes you have your drafts and just by whatever, the same guy falls to you, and you're like, all right, I guess I have Christian Kirk on 3 teams. I didn't mean to. I'm like, all right. And it's worked because I thought for sure, I'm like, okay, Calvin Ridley, this guy's going to be pot. But he's been really inconsistent. And outside of a blip here or there, Christian Kirk has been real good.
Right. Yeah, that was a shame to see him go down in that game so early too. So many people were probably counting on him for a bit of a Monday night miracle there. But I've always liked Christian Kirk. It was nice to see him get out of Arizona where they were just not using him and his skill set correctly. And Doug Peterson definitely is a nice coach to have to figure out players like that who have been misused in the past. Let's hope. I don't know how bad it was. I mean, the fact that he went down so early and didn't come back at all is probably not great. I didn't hear anything quite official, but definitely rooting for him to be able to come back because a lot of people have Christian Kirk are probably playoff bound and would probably love to have him. Hopefully Lawrence is not lost either for those managers. But we saw Parker Washington. He's definitely a suitable replacement. I know a lot of people in the Dynasty community loved him coming out. I was kind of surprised that he went so late in the draft. I think a 5th rounder out of Penn State there, but I think he's certainly a potential replacement there for Kirk if he is going to miss time for sure.
Okay.
Can't really plug and play the same numbers. I know he scored last night, which is great. So he's going to be an extremely hot waiver wire pickup. I would just sort of temper expectations there, but definitely a name there, Parker Washington, to put on your waiver list there.
At least to keep on. And it's so tough, too, because when you get an in-game quarterback replacement, you cannot carry that over for when a team has the time to prep for a receiver and especially a quarterback. So, like you said, to temper the expectations there. Steve, or any other waiver wire guys or guys you like going into this week or for the playoffs to keep an eye? I like the Parker Washington ad for sure.
Yeah.
That's
I like from your team, Cedric Tillman, right? 93% of snaps, depending on how healthy Amari Cooper is or isn't heading into this one. We already know the quarterback matchup is fantasy friendly, so that could be a nice little sneaky, not only ad but potential start if you're desperate enough, for this week. So definitely like Cedric Tillman there.
PPR too, Steve. I think maybe Elijah Moore. He had his best game as a Brown, and remember, they have some familiarity from their time with the Jets, him and Flacco.
Right.
So maybe
very true. Oh yeah, definitely Elijah Moore. It would be nice to see him string together more than one decent game in a row here, for sure. I'm still hanging on in a few deeper dynasty leagues, but I haven't been putting him in my starting lineup too often. But if Cooper misses, then this is as good of a week as any to throw him in, and if he's available, which he probably very well could be, especially in redraft leagues. People have probably been fed up after all season of basically no production there. If it don't happen this week, if Cooper, I don't know, what are you hearing about Cooper? Is there been I don't even know what was the injury.
Concussion.
Oh, okay.
So
probably a good chance he'll miss then.
Yeah, if it's so tricky. Like if you start the week or mid, I would say it's looking unlikely, but the concussions are so weird. Guy can be cleared Friday. I'm fine. It's like, all right. Or guy's out for a month and you don't know. Right. So
we saw with Treylon Burks here. He was in concussion for like 3 weeks and he comes back and does nothing either. So it's kind of weird.
it's bizarre, but no, man, I like Parker Washington. I'm going to jump on that.
The last ones would be basically whoever's healthy on Green Bay. So like you said, you've got Jordan Love and he's hot right now. Unfortunately, Christian Watson went down, so I feel like he might miss time. So whoever is going to take the field between Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Dobbs, even Malik Heath has caught some really long passes in some incredibly deep dynasty leagues. He might be a name to throw a Hail Mary at, but Reed and Wicks for sure are attractive options this week most likely without a Christian Watson, depending on the severity of that. I believe it was a leg injury that he suffered. So.
And I'm looking at Jaden Reed here. So 57% rostered in Yahoo. I remember last 2 weeks he had the chest, so he overcame that to play. Right now, no injury designation.
Good. That's a good sign.
So if you got him benched or if you can pick him up, because really before then he was starting to pop. Target-wise,
I like him a lot.
Me too. He was getting a lot of attention. Steve, where can people find your work, find IDP Guy, all that stuff? You've been awesome, man.
So our website is www.idpguys.org. So we are .org. We're actually very close in the process to brand transitioning to IDP Plus. So soon we will have our own .com address, transitioning from IDP Guys to IDP Plus. But I am the content manager over there, so I get all of our awesome writers in line. I contribute to writing myself, ranking. You'll see my ugly mug on our podcast channel over there. So we do the YouTube, we've got the Spotify channel, all that good stuff. We focus on IDP content, but we of course have offense too. That's kind of our slogan. So so just have a blast with those guys over there. Grant's a great dude. And so I'm on Twitter over at Dynasty Santa. Love helping people just basically manage their teams. At this point in my career, I almost love talking through like settings and scoring and all that kind of stuff than actually playing fantasy football. So that's kind of my thing right now, is talking like the bigger picture stuff.
I love it, man. And the content, you guys do such a good job over at IDP, guys.
Thanks.
So, Steve, let's do this again soon, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate the invite. Thanks.
We'll see you later. There you go, Steve Tomasin on Twitter, X at Dynasty Santa at IDP, guys. Tremendous site, whether it's defense, offense, whatever the case might be. Now, before we go, I want to take a little look-see here for our DraftKings Sportsbook, because what happens is, folks, is you just use the code 6sports when you go to the DraftKings Sportsbook. Go to the app, download it. 6sports is the code. Get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 on any NFL bet. So there you go. It's an official sports betting partner of the NFL. So you know it's trusted. You know the DraftKings name. So you get the app. That's 6sports. $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting $5 on the NFL. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code 6sports. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now this Thursday night stinker, we have to do something to make this interesting. NFL, shame on you. Because even before the season, this was not a high-octane matchup. This was, people were not clamoring in a best-case scenario for Mac Jones versus Kenny Pickett, right? Like, this match stunk back in April when they announced it. It's even worse now. Pittsburgh, 5-point favorites, over-under set at 30.5. We have to smash. DraftKings Sportsbook app, we have to smash the under. Just all under. Other than that, is there anything interesting on it? Like Patriots, Steelers defense? I really think kind of just like I don't even want to put an anytime touchdown on anybody because I don't know if there's going to be a touchdown. You know what? I'll say Mitch Trubisky, anytime touchdown, like to run it in. You know, maybe a Jalen Warren, but that defense is real good. So maybe if I'm feeling real spicy, if I'm bored watching and to in-game bet or something, but that game sucks. And right now, we have Browns early in the week, 3-point favorites hosting Jacksonville, and that over-under is at 30.5 as well. You're telling me Vegas thinks the same amount of points for Patriots, Steelers, and Jags, Browns? Like, I know Trevor Lawrence probably isn't going to play, but really? Joe Flacco threw 2 touchdowns last week. Well, I'd go take the over on that. I take the over, maybe a little same game parlay there. Do over on the points, 30.5, and straight up Browns money line. They have to get this right. The defense has to get figured out. Hopefully Denzel Ward gets back, man. Oh, you got to do that. You got to keep rolling Flacco. Don't do anything stupid, Browns. Okay, the conglomeration, the mind thinks of the collective effort of trying to make every decision. No DTR this week. This is Joe Flacco. He's our best hope right now to still make a run at the playoffs. Right now, the Browns are the 6th seed. And you got to fix the drops. Back real quick in the doghouse. I want to pull this up. In the doghouse is the receivers. Do you know the Browns? Guess what ranking the Browns are when it comes to drop passes in the NFL? Take a guess. Second only to the Kansas City Chiefs. And they've had one quarterback all year. Browns 29. Leading the way, it's the Chief. We love the Chief. We love David Njoku. But 10 drops on the year. Second on the team is Jerome Ford at 7. Cooper with 4. Moore with 3. Bryant 2. Marquise Goodwin, who's still in concussion protocol, 2. And David Bell with 1. You got to clean that up. But, you know, if it's happening in Kansas City, I guess, too, right? But if you can clean that up, get Ward back, you can beat this Jags team. They're not world beaters. We just saw Jake Browning light them up. Come on. Let's do it. We can do this. Browns, right? All right. Thanks to Steve Tomasin Thanks to Sammy and the crew at Sick Podcast. We will be back live Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern for your fantasy football. Start-sits playoff time in a lot of leagues. Get you ready. Start-sits injury news and a full Browns Jaguars preview. See if Cleveland can get back on track. Get that W. Keep marching towards the playoffs. I'm Andy McNamara, and you've been watching the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara. Go Browns!
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.